time for the First Community Credit Union Blues postgame show.
Presented by Scott Lee Heating Company and Urban Chestnut Brewing Company on 101 ESPN.
Quick shot gets blocked up. Walker's going to pick it up at the flex to Cam Fowler. Wire score! Fowler with Sundqvist right in front, but Fowler slap shots it in. So after great saves on one end, a quick answer on the other end. And Cam Fowler with his first goal of the season gives the Blues the lead. 9th time in 10 games they've scored first. Another one off the wall. Driving it to the goal was Timo Meier, and Bennington makes the save. Bratt behind the net. Back to the line. Hamilton into traffic. It's there. They shoot. They score. It was only a matter of time. Devils on the doorstep. And Meier found the rebound. We're tied 1-1. Fowler near circle to Thomas. 14 seconds to go. Thomas shoots. Score! Power play goal following a good penalty kill. And the St. Louis Blues regain the lead. 2-1 on the 4th goal of the year from Robert Thomas. Short pass used down low, far wing, and another block. It's in front, and it finds its way in. Bennington looks up to the rafters. He sure had the stick on the puck, and the Devils have tied it 2-2 with a power play goal. Second shift of overtime. Thomas nearly took it away. He sure centers, and the Devils score. So put it in. And again, the Blues close. But just not close enough. And they left a spectacular performance by Jordan Bennington on the Thanksgiving table here tonight.
I just don't get it. I don't get it with their struggles in overtime. It's so odd to me. Overtime is about puck possession and about speed. When you have the puck, you don't give it up. And it comes down to speed and taking advantage. You know, last season, it felt like the Blues always would take advantage. They'd be like that jaguar that's waiting for its prey in the weeds. They would hold on to the puck, they'd cycle it, but then the moment that they saw an opening, it was off to the races, and they'd beat the team with an odd man rush. Now, tonight, they win the opening faceoff. They have possession in the zone, don't hit the net. Maybe that's part of the problem. Puck comes out. They can't retrieve the puck. And look, I think they did a really good job of defending with those guys on the ice for that long shift where Broberg and Dvorsky and Holloway were out there for close to 2 minutes and 40 seconds. That's absurd. Shifts should be like 45 seconds. Maybe less than that in overtime. Now, you're stuck in your own end. It's a long change. That's what happens. When the other team gets the puck, it's essentially death for you because all they do is they come out, they'll skate back in, come out, skate back in. They're doing that because they're trying to get those players exhausted and then pounce. And the Blues fought off that push. But then the next shift, Thomas and Kyrou and Fowler jump over the boards. You're back in the own end, which that makes sense. New Jersey had puck possession. But you don't retrieve the puck behind the net, and then you're not aware of the guy behind you that's standing in front of the net, and the pass goes right through the middle. Like, it's so befuddling of their struggles right now in overtime. And I mentioned this with Deeks a little bit ago. They're 0-7 in overtime or a shootout this season. That's the same amount of losses as they have wins overall, which I should say wins in regulation because they haven't won a game in overtime or a shootout. Here's the real mind-bending part for me. Because with all of this talent, Kyrou and Thomas and Buchnevich and now Dvorsky's getting time in overtime and Snuggerud and Holloway, they've played in 7 overtimes this season. They have had 6 shots on goal in 7 overtimes. Break this down further. 3 of those 7 shots came in one overtime game. That was against the Philadelphia Flyers. We break this down even further. One other overtime game, they had 2 shots on goal. So in 5 overtime games this season, the Blues have had a total of 1 shot on goal. 1 shot on goal. There have been 4 games where they have not had a shot on goal in overtime. And again, if you lose the faceoff, you're already behind the 8 ball. You're hoping that the other team makes a mistake. You're hoping that they miss the net. You're hoping something goes your way. But if it doesn't, well, then you're in a tough situation and you find yourself chasing. So it is so confusing to me. Look, before we get into the Ted Drew's 3 takeaways, I'll do this. I'll give the team credit. I thought Devils played a really good game tonight, and I also think the Blues played a really good game. Like, I know it's frustrating that this team continues to lose. I understand people are frustrated. I'm frustrated. I'll give them the credit when they deserve it. I thought they played a good hockey game tonight. They weathered the storm in the first period. After the first period, they tilted the ice their direction and outplayed the Devils in the second and third. It's so odd that in the second and third period is where the Blues lost the hockey game, and then, of course, overtime. So put that aside. I thought both sides had a really good game tonight. The Devils are just really freaking good, and that team didn't have Jack Hughes. The Blues just have overtime problems. They pick up a point. If you're optimistic about that, I personally am not, because right now the points are like, whose line is it anyway? They don't matter anymore. You just need to start picking up wins in regulation if you want to put yourself into this. With that being said, let's get our takeaways.
It's time for tonight's 3 takeaways. Let it snow. Presented by Ted Drew's Christmas Trees, where tradition tastes great and the holidays feel right at home.
Okay, first takeaway for me tonight. Let's start with Binnington. I promise I'm not going to be super optimistic. Let's talk Binnington. Because I think this narrative right now for Jordan Binnington is, there's the rumor going around about Nick Kypreos, who put it out there on TSN that said, the Edmonton Oilers are hot on Jordan Binnington's tail. They'd love to acquire him in a trade, and in return, the Blues would get Stuart Skinner. We had this conversation on BK and Ferrario today. I think one side is very different than the other. Binnington is a winner. I don't know if Stuart Skinner is, but regardless, Jordan Binnington, I feel like this narrative around the NHL is he's having a bad season. This is more like Jordan Binnington. This game was Jordan Binnington. Did he give up 2 goals? Yeah, absolutely. Go back and watch those goals. Both were rebound chances that probably should have been killed. The overtime goal. Would you have liked to see it make the save? Absolutely. But it was a one-time shot on the back door that goes into the back of the net. Like, I'm not sure what else he's supposed to do in that situation. That was an elite performance, because he fended off New Jersey's push in the first period. He wore them down. The Blues had the lead, and then he kept the Blues into it. A power play goal evened it up, and you got all the way to overtime, which you rely on your team to get puck possession and opportunities on net, and they didn't put a shot on goal. But, man, did he weather the storm in that first period. I don't know what's going to happen moving forward. I don't know if this team opts to make a move or something like that. But Jordan Binnington has been better over these last 3 weeks. I mean, these have all been 1-goal games. They've all, with the exception of the Vegas Golden Knights, you have to go all the way back to the Washington Capitals game to find the game that the Blues were out by more than a goal. 1-goal loss to the Kraken, 1-goal win to the Flames, 1-goal loss to the Flyers, 1 goal to the Maple Leafs, 1 goal to the Flyers, 1 goal to the Islanders, 1 goal to the Rangers, 1 goal to the Devils. Like, your goaltending is fixed. I think defensively, you've been better. First period was a little shaky. Overall, defensively, I feel like they've limited those high-danger scoring chances. The problem comes on the offensive side, and that's my second takeaway. We're gonna hear from this in our soundbite of the night momentarily, but the second takeaway is you still don't have that shot mentality. Jim Montgomery said earlier today, they asked him, what would you deem a good game in terms of shot attempts? And he said 50 to 55. They had 44 tonight. Now, look at the Devils. They had 59. you have guys that just aren't taking shots. I feel like tonight was better than the New York Rangers one, but still, like you go through your top players. No shots on net by Braden Shen. 1 shot on net by Jimmy Snuggerud. 3 attempts. Only 1 shot attempt by Pius Suter. Only 1 shot attempt by Nathan Walker. 1 shot attempt by Dalibor Dvorsky. No shot attempts by Colton Parayko. Played 21 minutes and 18 seconds. You had 5 shot attempts from Jake Neighbors. You had 7 shot attempts from Justin Falk. 3 shot attempts from Dylan Holloway. 1 on net and 2 shot attempts from Pavel Buchnevich. There's just not that shot mentality looking for it. And although you're generating opportunities, you're not generating chances. Like I view these as very different. Scoring opportunities means you've got the chance to put it on net. You've got the chance to create some havoc, but they're not taking that chance. They're passing it up to look for a better chance. And especially in overtime, it's just got to have to be bulk. When you're averaging 1.8 goals per game, when you have scored fewer than 3 goals, let me look up what I wrote this one down. You have scored fewer than 3 goals 11 times this season. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, half of your games this season have been fewer than 30 shots on goal, which 30 is a high mark to match, but I'll have to go back and look at this as we get deeper into it. I'm pretty certain there's been more than a handful of games where they have had fewer than 20 shots on goal. So you just don't have that shot mentality right now. My third takeaway kind of goes to Robert Thomas in that specific light. That shot that he had on the power play, man, that's elite stuff. And in my opinion, you open up more chances when you're more than just a passer. Like, I think the best centermen in the game are guys that the defense doesn't know what to do. He may shoot it, he may pass it. We got to be ready for everything. But I feel like there's times where Robert Thomas does not take the shot, and teams know that. I was looking at this for comparison because the first thing I was doing, I was like, okay, what's a good comparison for Robert Thomas in the National Hockey League? Another centerman that is a number 1 centerman, got elite stuff. How does he compare in terms of shots throughout a season? And the guy that I came up with was Sebastian Aho. Now, I know he has scored 34 goals, but he's never been a 100-point player. Always floats around point per game, if not a little bit higher. More of a goal scorer than a passer, but I think that plays into my theory here. Here's Sebastian Aho's shots on goal and where it ranks on the team for the last, what did I do? The last 5 seasons minus the COVID year. I took out the half season. Last year, he had 207 shots on goal and 79. That averages out to about 3 shots per game. Close to it. Most shots on the team. The year prior, 216 shots in 78 games. Second most on the team. The year before that, 218 shots in 75 games. Second most on the team. Year before that, 221, 79 games played. Second most on the team. Year before that, 206 shots in 68 games. First on the team. First, second, first. He's always top 2. Your number 1 centerman is the guy that is always putting pucks on net. Here's where Robert Thomas ranks in the last 5 seasons minus the COVID year. Last year, 145 in 70 games, 5th. Year before that, 170-82, 4th. Year before that, 106 and 73, 5th. Year before that, 115 and 72, 7th. Year before that, 87 and 66, 8th. To open up this offense, I feel like if Thomas can start becoming a threat with the shot, because that's an elite goal scorer shot. I mean, he tucked that in, toe dragged it, and flipped it, and it went right past the goaltender on the power play. In a flick, Markstrom didn't even react. If Robert Thomas can do that, where he's putting 3 shots on net every single night. Tonight, he had 1. I'm sorry, he had 2. He had 4 shot attempts, 2 on net. This guy is a 30-goal scorer. This guy opens up offense because what happens for his line mates is, well, the defensemen know he might shoot, he might pass. They got to figure out how to handle this guy. Now you got more space for your wingers, and we know how elite he is at passing the puck. So, again, just a working theory of mine, but, man, if they could find a way to get him to just put 5 or 6 shots on net every single game rather than look for those passes, and I know that's his game. I understand that's how Robert Thomas plays. But it does really feel like the offense can open up a little bit more if you could get more shots from Robert Thomas. All right, let's do this. That's my Ted Drew's 3 takeaways. We want to hear yours. You go over on our YouTube channel at 101 ESPN STL. Also, our text line 314-399-9646. I mentioned them not having those guys that have that shot-breaking mentality. I want to play the soundbite of the night, which goes back to a comment that Mike McKenna had.
The soundbite of the night is presented by Rocket Convenience Stores. Fuel your car and your daily cravings at Rocket Convenience Stores.
Well, it's tough to say because there was a time frame for teams were always trying to look for puck possession, look for passes going across the Royal Road, they call it. That's the line down the middle of the ice, basically, trying to improve chances of scoring goals from what statistics had shown you. But really in a game, you're not thinking about statistics. You're going with what your strengths have been. And, how many guys on this team are just pure killers? Like, how many pure goal scorers are on this team right now? And I'm looking up and down that lineup just to try to fact check myself here. And I don't see a pure goal scorer on this club other than Holloway looked like it last year at times. He's not a sniper, but he can snipe. And Snuggerud is who we're hoping is going to turn into that along with Dvorsky. But that's 2 hopers. It's a Jordan Kyrou who pretty much scores on the rush, and a Robert Thomas who kind of does everything great but isn't a pure sniper either. Right. So where are your killers? And that's got to be the message. You get the puck on your blade, put it in the net. End of story, shoot it, see what happens.
Now, I will give them credit because they did that on the power play tonight. They didn't do that against the Rangers. They had a total of 9 shots on 4 power plays tonight. And on that 4-minute power play that they didn't capitalize on, they had 5 shots on net. I mean, that's much better than the 3 that they had in the last game, and all 3 of them came in like the last 90 seconds of the second power play. This one, they were having the shot mentality. I just don't believe they had that at 5-on-5. But again, this sounds super negative. I actually think they played a good game in regulation. I told Jordan before we went into that third period, I said, this is going to really tell you if this team is close like they keep saying or if they're just not built for this. Because you're going into a third period against one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. You have the chance to go above 500 on this road trip, which I know doesn't sound like much because it would be 2-1-2, but it means something to them. And look, they didn't wither. I'll give them that. Like, they didn't cower up in the corner and just fall apart. They outshot New Jersey in the third period. New Jersey's a pretty good team in the third period. Their goal differential is a minus. But they didn't dominate the front of the net like Jim Montgomery asked before the game, said that we have to win both net front presence battles if we want to win this hockey game, and I don't believe they did that. And then it got to overtime, and you just didn't have that killer mentality. So it sucks. The OT thing is baffling. It is baffling for me, and I'm sure it's just as baffling as it is for those guys. So let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll hear from Jim Montgomery, and I'll have my final look as we close it down here after a 3-2 loss in overtime. Blues fall to the Devils here on 101 ESPN. Alex Ferrario with you to talk about my friends at Classic Air Care, who are making people comfortable since 1926. It's about to hit that freezing cold temperature. We're hitting the winter season hard, ladies and gentlemen, which means that furnace is going into overtime. And you want it to work in overtime for your home. And Classic Air Care is able to push you through for that. So if you got an older unit, if you got a newer unit, make sure you get them out there in the next couple of days to get that tune-up before you get deep into the winter season. If you're looking for a new unit, now is the best time to do it because, of course, there's financing options. It's not as crazy as the summertime where everybody's looking for that new unit. And Classic Air Care is offering you a free water heater if you purchase an HVAC system install through Black Friday. So it goes all the way up to December 5th. So you can jump in on that if you want to take advantage and get yourself a new free water heater. Also, they're partnering with St. Louis Food Bank and running a food drive this month. They're accepting donations at the 3 main locations in Olivet, Afton, and O'Fallon, and their technicians are accepting donations and also have a website at justgiving.com/page/Classic Air Care 1. So check them out. Do your part to help others while Classic Air Care is out there to help you since 1926. Classic Air Care and ClassicAirCare.com.
Welcome back to the First Community Credit Union Blues postgame show.
Presented by Scott Lee Heating Company and Urban Chestnut Brewing Company on 101 ESPN.
Final time tonight here on our extended postgame coverage, the fourth period. Alex Ferrario with you along with Jordan Deacon as the Blues fall 3-2 in overtime to the New Jersey Devils. Let's head back out to New Jersey now and hear from the head coach following another overtime loss.
It's time to hear from the head coach, Jim Montgomery, presented by Fisher Window and Door Store, offering quality American-made Marvin windows and doors. Visit their showrooms in Brentwood or East Alton, Illinois.
Monty, how do you characterize tonight's game?
Well,
Our first period we were up 2-1, but we actually, I thought Devils outplayed us. We weren't intent. Too many turnovers, weren't physical enough. I thought we started to do that the last two periods. We only had 5 turnovers in the second. Thought we generated a lot of offensive zone time. We weren't able to finish. But we had a lot of good looks. The D-men were active. And it continued in the third. We didn't take advantage of the 4-minute power play, unfortunately, to extend the lead, or go ahead, I should say.
Did Bennington keep you in it there in the first period? Looked like he had quite a first.
Yeah, he was excellent in the first period. I mean, maybe 3 half breakaways and then, a couple of one-timers that he just read really well and a couple of shots through screens. He was excellent. He deserved a better fate than, the 2 goals only that we got him.
You shook up your forward lines. Did you like what you were able to generate?
At times, yes. At times, no. It just... We're struggling to get inside and get quality chances, rebounds, and stuff.
You talked about the 4-minute power play. Just how big at that point of the game is it to? I think you had 6 shots on goal there, but couldn't get one by.
Yeah, I mean it's we did have good looks. We just didn't generate the finishing chance. And some of that is we got to make the one extra play, or maybe we need to be a little more selfish and shoot.
Monty, how do you look at the road trip overall?
A very competitive road trip. We've improved defensively. Offensively, still not nearly hard enough to score consistently in this league.
A lot of time on the road. You looking forward to getting three at home now?
Yeah, it's always great to go home to our great fans and get in our building where it rocks.
It's time to take a look back at tonight's game with the final look.
Driven by Pure Performance. Only stop for all your aftermarket vehicle needs.
Yeah, hopefully they can cook up some wins on home ice as they got a back-to-back. They start 3-4 after already playing 3-4. They'll have 3-4 that started today with Thursday and then or a Wednesday, then Friday, and then Saturday, and then they'll play Friday, Saturday, and Monday. But they get Ottawa, they get Utah, and they get the Anaheim Ducks. Real quick, Jim Montgomery heard there, maybe we need to be a little bit more selfish with the puck. I think that's what's missing right now. You just need more individual guys that are looking to make the perfect play, make that extra play to find the back of the net, and just start unleashing shots. The last game, Pavel Buchnevich essentially scored, but the puck went off of Braden Schen's pants. Tonight you had 2 elite shots, one from Fowler off the board, the other from Robert Thomas. You've got to start taking more shots, and that's where this team's at right now. You've got to start finishing. You don't typically go this long where you're losing 1-goal hockey games and not break through. But I don't think you break through until you have guys that are willing to take more shots and find the back of the net. And just to kind of put a bow on this, Matt DeFranks just tweeted this out. It's the Blues have 7 overtime or shootout games without a win to start the season. Here's the list of teams that have more than them. 2014-2015, Edmonton had 7. 22-23, Philadelphia had 7. The 2010-2011 Senators had 9. 2021, Montreal Canadiens had 9. The 2006-2007 Florida Panthers had 11. So that's the kind of rankings since overtime has come into play, 3-on-3 overtime, that is, of teams that have gone without a win in overtime or a shootout to start the season, and that's where the Blues seem to be at right now. They get 3 tough matchups at home. You get the Ottawa Senators that are sitting in a playoff spot that are getting Brady Tkachuk back. You get the Utah Mammoth that put 7 or 8 up on you, I believe, when they played back at Enterprise Center. I think it was 7. And then you get the Anaheim Ducks, who are pushing or sitting in that top spot in the at the Pacific Division in the Western Conference. So 3 tough games coming to St. Louis, but they should be fun all after Thanksgiving going into the opening month of December. That game on Friday, Black Friday, will be a 3 o'clock puck drop, which means we've got your pregame festivities beginning at 2 o'clock right here on your home for the Blues 101 ESPN. That'll shut it down for us tonight. Once again, appreciate all of you. Thankful for all of you listening in, commenting, joining the conversation throughout our postgame festivities. Blues fall 3-2 in overtime to the New Jersey Devils. Have a happy Thanksgiving with your family and friends. Be safe, be smart. We'll talk to you Friday afternoon for Blues and Senators right here on your home for the Blues 101 ESPN.
Thanks for listening to the First Community Credit Union Blues postgame show.
Presented by